Hi everyone, this is Julie from Urban Yogis, and this is part 3 of cross-training your yoga practice. In today's episode, I'll be spotlighting the work that the inner thighs in particular do when we find ourselves in the most common of our yoga postures. Now, increasingly, there's this growing reliance on the use of sticky yoga mats to support us and to create stability in our practice. And in fact, it seems like the trend is that the stickier the mat, the better it is, but that's not necessarily true. So understand that the more we rely on our sticky yoga mats to support our postures, to create stability, the less our own bodies understands how to do that by themselves. So much like we've built this culture around sitting on chairs and working at desks, which has resulted in a lack of understanding and connection to our bodies working and moving as an integrated, efficient unit, reliance on our sticky mats has also resulted in a lack of understanding of this same efficiency of movement in our yoga practice. So today I'll be taking you through 3 very simple exercises to wake up those inner thighs and to build your awareness and your understanding of what the legs are doing when we're in our standing warrior postures, our downward dogs, our plank postures. So we're looking towards building a long run efficiency in movement and stability rather than short-term gains, which may be more impressive again in the short term, but not necessarily as good for not just our well-being, but in our understanding of our own movement patterns. So let's have a look. For all 3 exercises today, we'll be using gliders. Now, you don't have to have gliders. In fact, the beauty of these exercises is that if you don't have a set of gliders, all you need is a tiled or wooden floor, as well as a blanket or a towel that can very easily slide along the floor. So the first exercise we'll be looking at is the side lunge, where we'll be using a single glider. So you want to place one foot on your floor and the other foot on your glider or your towel, blanket, whatever you have available to you. And we want to make sure that the feet are about hips width distance apart in the starting position and that they're about parallel to each other. Then you begin to bend the leg that is standing on the floor and then slide the leg out that is on your glider or your blanket. Now you want to make sure that the sliding foot stays in that parallel position and it doesn't turn out to the side in this way. So the idea is that when you come back in, you are once again at that same starting position with your feet. And then when you bend the leg that's on the floor directly, you also want to sit back, right, in such a way that this knee doesn't move forwards beyond the ankle and it's stabilized by being somewhat over that ankle. And then again, squeeze the inner thighs in and come back to your starting position. So when you first start out, maybe start with a much smaller movement, yeah? Small movement, and then come back in. And again, small movement, sit back, and come back in. And then once you get familiar with this and the legs start to understand what they're supposed to be doing, you can start to go a little bit wider and to really start to work those muscles. And you'll feel other muscles in your legs working as well. But here, I just want to start to understand again what the inside of the legs are doing in order to pull back in. So I'll tie that at the end once again to some of our yoga postures. For this next exercise, let's have a look at the back lunge. So we begin in the same way that we did with the side lunge, in the starting position with the feet about hips width distance apart and parallel to each other. One foot will remain grounded on the floor while the other foot stands onto your glider. Now the leg on the floor starts to bend while the leg on the glider extends back. So just like this. And then squeeze the inner thighs in as you bring the leg on the glider back to its starting position. So as before, if you are new to this kind of movement, I would highly recommend making smaller movements to start. And then as you get more familiar and the legs become a little bit more integrated, that you can start to work with larger and larger movements. And then remember, the leg that bends remains stabilized with the knee over the ankle. All right, so we'll do a couple more of these just so you can have a look. One more. And last one. Here's one we don't often think about, and that is how the legs work when we are in our plank position. So again, today I'm just focusing on the work of the inner thigh. So there's sort of like this drawing in to the center line of the body with these inner thighs. So we're going to use the gliders again to simulate what the legs are doing. And you need 2 gliders or 2 blankets, 2 towels underneath each of your feet. All right, so I'm gonna place the gliders underneath your feet as you take a plank position. So remember, you can always do this either in high plank with the hands on the floor, or you can take the forearms on the floor. So you wanna start with the legs in together, and then inhale, take them out to the side. Exhale, squeeze those inner thighs in and bring them in together. All right, so I'm going to do 2 more of these. Inhale, take them out, and then exhale, squeeze the inner thighs in as you bring the gliders in towards each other. One more. Inhale, and exhale to bring them in. Woo. So now you can probably get a sense for why, if you are still choosing to practice on a very sticky mat, that you need to still bring awareness into what your legs have to do to support yourself in the absence of the sticky mat, right? So let's take this example of Warrior 2. All right, so if you were on a sticky mat, it would be very easy to just stay here and again, hang into this posture, take a vacation in this posture, let the mat do the work for you. So what I like to remind people often is to imagine that you're on one of those brand new mats that's super slippery, and you're trying to stop your feet from sort of sliding away from each other. So you can imagine that glider, right? So imagine that you've got the glider on that back foot and you're just trying to slide it back in towards the other foot, right? So you really start to feel the work that the entirety of your legs are doing in order to support you in this place. Then if we take that into Warrior 1, we have very similar effect as well. So imagine that this back foot is on a glider and that you're just trying to slide it forwards on that exhalation. And start to feel the inner thighs working, supporting, and stabilizing. And this translates into what we do in other forms of standing postures as well, be it pasarita, wide-legged forward folds, triangle pose, getting that sense that your legs are trying to make their way back towards the midline of your body. It is challenging at first to work in this way, but eventually you will find greater long run efficiency in learning how to use your body in this way.